Hi there, Jeremy here. So, in a few videos past, in several videos past, we had been speaking along the lines of the things that are spoken of in the book of Revelation. I had been talking about the road to tribulation, and over the last few videos, I had kind of slightly digressed and gone off course and talked about a few other important things that I believed at the time were necessary to speak about, things pertaining to the rapture, things that pertain to good works, and so on. But today I want to get back on horse, riding, galloping toward the tribulation period, because for the believer in today's world, as we speak before the rapture, this is not going to concern you too much, because if I'm right, and I believe I am, and this is not premised on any sense of arrogance or any sense of I know it all, because I don't. There's many things I don't know, but there's certain things I am completely convinced of based on what I have seen in the Bible, particularly Daniel 9:24-27. I keep repeating those scriptures. They are quite pretty foundational. Matthew 24, Zechariah chapter 13 and 14, and so on. I'm pretty much convinced that by the time the things that are mentioned in the book of Revelation from chapter 6 to 18 especially happen, the church, you and I, are not here. And I know that there are places that mention the fact that mention words like saints, elect, and so on in the book of Revelation, and many people believe that is referring to us, the church. But you need to understand that those words, saints, elect, chosen, are not exclusive references to the church. If you look in the Bible, you'll find that those words existed in the Old Testament. They existed before the church existed. And when the church came along the scene, the church was qualified to have those words used in reference to them. And when the church is gone, those words will be used as well, because there will be believers, sadly not so many, during the period of the Great Tribulation. There will be believers, there will be saints, and there will be chosen ones, the elect in Israel, as well as the wider world. If you look at Revelation chapter 12, no, sorry, take that back. Revelation, I believe, chapter 7, where the 144,000 are chosen and sealed before the events of the opening of the seventh seal start. But what I want to talk about today, and very briefly, it's more like a reading and just teasing a few things out, has to do with the opening of the six seals, or the seven seals, which takes place in chapter 6. But there's a prelude to that. Now, the last video I spoke about on this subject, and I'll put a link to it. One of the things I mentioned there was that in Revelation chapter 1, I believe it's in verse 19, Jesus gives us an outline to the book. He gives us an outline to the book of Revelation. And in in Revelation 1:19, he mentions, write the things which you have seen, the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter. The things which you have seen were the things that happen in verses 9 to 18. The things which are the things that happen in chapters 2 and 3. This is to do with the churches. And I believe that it's not just the churches that existed then, which were those seven churches, Ephesus all the way to Laodicea, but also referring to the church age of which we are a part today. And the things which shall be hereafter starts in Revelation chapter 4, when John says he saw a window in heaven, and he heard a voice like a trumpet which said, come up hither, or come up here. And instantly John was in heaven. And I genuinely believe that John moved in time and space. John did not just relocate in space, he relocated in time. Well, technically speaking, John did not relocate in time, he left time and went into eternity. And the good thing, the interesting thing about eternity is that in eternity, time does not exist. Our past, our present, and our future is essentially kind of like one event, if that makes sense. It's not, Albert Einstein once said something. He said, I believe it was Albert Einstein. He said, the past, the present, and the future is, I'm paraphrasing now, past, present, and future is a stubbornly persistent illusion. Why? Because from an eternal point of view, past, present, future does not exist. It's all God sees everything. God sees the past, the present, and the future simultaneously. Because for him, there's no past, there's no present, there's no future. He is the one who inhabits eternity. He is the Father of eternity. Anyway, John is taken to heaven and he starts to see things. And what I want you to understand is that John is not seeing things in a vision in Revelation chapter 4 all the way to the end. John is seeing things that he's physically being shown. It's like in order to, you can view the White House, right, in Washington, D.C. You can view the White House by watching videos of the White House. You can view the White House on your television in the context of a report on maybe CNN or Fox News or Newsmax and so on. But you can also view the White House by physically being there. Now, in Revelation chapter 1, what John saw was in the context of some sort of vision. Things were opened and all of a sudden he could see. In Revelation chapter 4, John gets taken to heaven and he sees things there. And I'm just going to mention a few of the things he sees there, or actually just make a few commentaries on the things that he sees there. So he says in verse 1, "And I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll written inside and on the back, sealed with 7 seals." So remember, this is a scroll that is written, that is in the hand of him who sat on the throne. This is Yud He Vav He. This is Jehovah, our Father God. He says, "Then I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, 'Who is worthy to open the scroll and to loose its seals?' And no one in heaven or on the earth or under the earth not saying anything more, was able to open the scroll or to look at it." In other words, there were qualities or qualifications for looking at this scroll. And it says in verse 4, "So I wept much because no one was found worthy to open and read the scroll or to look at it. But one of the elders said to me." Now, this subject of eldership is something that has been addressed very well by a certain guy who I keep referring to, a certain guy called Chuck Missler. Never met him in person, always watched him, listened to him, but never met him in person. But yeah, I'm going to put a link to his video on this whole subject of 24 elders. I think there's something there, especially because of something that we see much later in chapter 5, which kind of gives us an idea of the identity of these 24 elders. "But one of the elders said to me," verse 5, "Do not weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has prevailed to open the scroll and to loose its 7 seals. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has prevailed," or he has overcome, to open the scroll and to loose its 7 seals. In other words, there were certain qualifications required, right? The word "no one" refers to the fact that it had to be a person, very likely a man. The fact that it says "has prevailed" means this person had to overcome. And it says it was the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So essentially we're talking about the fact that it's the cross. He had to overcome on the cross. Remember, it says, "Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has prevailed to open the scroll and to loose its 7 seals. And I looked, and behold, in the midst of the throne of the 4 living creatures and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb." Remember in John 1:29, John the Baptist said, "Behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world." So it looks like that was what the qualification that was required. And only he, only Yeshua, only Jesus Christ had those qualities, had that qualification to open the seals, because he's the one who died on the cross. It says, verse 6, "And I looked, and behold, in the midst of the throne and of the four living creatures, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as though it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. Then he came and took the scroll out of the right hand of him who sat on the throne. Now when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each having a harp and golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of saints. And they sang a song." Listen to this song. "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain and have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every tribe and every tongue and every nation." Hold on. Let me read to you something that you're going to see, which actually looks very familiar to what we are about to read. So it says, "And they sang a new song, saying, You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain and have redeemed us." So this is the 24 elders singing now, and they're saying, "For you have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and have made us kings and priests." Now, where have I heard that before? "You have made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign on the earth." I'll make a personal confession. The only thing I'm not certain of is if it's just the 24 elders singing this song, or the 24 elders along with the 4 living creatures. That's what I'm not sure. I mean, these 4 living creatures, you'll find them all over the Bible. You find them in Ezekiel chapter 1, you find them in the book of Isaiah, and you find them here. And I think, if I'm correct, according to Isaiah, these guys are seraphs, or seraphim, sorry, I should say. Seraphim, which is plural for seraph. It says, "And they sang a new song, saying, You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain and have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and have made us kings and priests to our God." You have made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign on the earth. Look at 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. It says, "But you, us believers, you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood." What's a royal priesthood? King and priest. Kingly priest. And this is what it says in Revelation 5, verse 9 and 10. "You have redeemed us to God by your blood." Now, we know that the only persons who have been redeemed by God in today's world is the church. Nobody outside of the church has been redeemed. What I mean by that, now that's kind of sounds like that came out weird. Now, what I'm saying is that other than the church, there is no redeemed person on the planet. That's what I'm trying to say. The church, Jesus, by the reason of his blood that was shed on the cross, he redeems people and then simultaneously places them into his body, which is the church. And so he says, "You have redeemed us to God by your blood. You have bought us. Literally, that's what it means to redeem, to buy back. You have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation." So again, this is kind of going back to the whole idea of John 3:16. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes on him should not perish but have everlasting life. Out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and have made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign on the earth." So our time of reigning on the earth is coming. What am I trying to say from verse 10? I'm simply saying, I believe that these 24 elders are some sort of representation of the church, which is not definitive proof by itself of a pre-tribulation rapture, but gives a pretty strong hint of it. Because the tribulation does not start until chapter 6. And if I'm right that this is referring to the church, this is a representation of the church, then the church is already in heaven. before the tribulation starts. But again, I'm not trying to build a case from here. I'm just simply saying it sounds a lot like it. Okay, I could be wrong about this particular place, but it does build a fairly strong case. And like I said, I'll put links to what some experts have said in this regard. So he says, and have made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign on the earth. Then I looked, and I heard the voice of many angels. Oh, by the way, and we shall reign on the earth. Think about it, right? One of the things that Jesus talks about is how that, I think it's in Luke chapter 19, Minas. Let's see, Minas. Is it Luke 16 or Luke 19? Let's see. Yes, it is Luke 19. So he says, calling 10 of his servants, he gave them 10 minas and said to them, this is Luke 19 verse 13, engage in business until I come. But his citizens hated him and sent a delegation after him, saying, we do not want this man to reign over us. When he returned, and having received the kingdom, he ordered these servants to whom he had given the money to be called to him, that he might know what they had gained by doing business. The first came before him, saying, Lord, your mina has made 10 minas more. And he said to him, well done, good servant, because you have been faithful in very little, you shall have authority over 10 cities. That's interesting, especially when you consider that in Revelation 2 and Revelation 3, Jesus speaks about giving crowns of righteousness, crowns of life to those who have overcome, those who are able to overcome in the area of persecution, those who overcome by way of waiting on him, loving his appearance. 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 8 talks about receiving a crown of righteousness because we love his appearing. James, I forget precisely where in the book of James, it talks about receiving a crown of life because you have overcome in the area of trials and temptation and persecution. So we're talking about people who are rewarded with crowns, and they are not just rewarded with crowns, they will rule. This is not premised on them being big pastors while on earth. This is not premised on them being big reverends and bishops while on earth. This is not premised on them being God's generals while on earth. These are people who have overcome and have been faithful in the arena that God placed them simply because of their faithfulness to him. So let me conclude here by saying in verses 12 to 14, he says, saying with a loud voice, worthy is the Lamb. So this is Revelation 5, 12 to 14, and I'm concluding here. Saying with a loud voice, worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing, and every creature which is in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, which are and such as are in the sea. See, there it goes again with under the earth. I didn't say it. It's there in the book of Revelation chapter 5 verse 13. So there must be, if God is mentioning it, surely there must be something that is underneath the earth, which is kind of weird when you think about the fact that we're a big ball drifting through space. Go figure. Anyway, so he says, and every creature which is in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, and such as are in the sea, and all that are in them, I heard saying, blessing and honor and glory and power be to him who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb forever and ever. Then the 4 living creatures said, Amen. And the 24 elders fell down and worshipped him who lives forever and ever. Now, I'm going to end here by saying this. This is a prelude to what then takes place in Revelation chapter 6, number 1. Number 2, it is Jesus, Yeshua, who opens the seals. The devil is not opening any seal. The devil is a participant in the book of Revelation from chapter 6 all the way to 18, along with the man of sin, who is the beast, and the false prophet. This is what many have called the unholy trinity. But the devil has nothing to do with the opening of any of the 7 seals. He has nothing to do with the blowing of any of the 7 trumpets. And he has nothing to do with the pouring out of any of the 7 bowls of wrath. He's a participant because the person who is really in charge is God himself. I think I should stop there because I think I should just stop there. Have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, anywhere you are. God bless you.